Hello, everyone. It's been some time. This is actually the first time on this channel for YouTube. I haven't done this in a while. I usually do these videos on X. Originally, before this, I was on TikTok. This is initially a live stream recording, just using a laptop and its camera. And usually, with these live streams, I live stream and then I share mainly X or other articles that I decide to use for the live stream. I've been doing this kind of thing for years on TikTok. I've been into preparedness for about 4 years now. And I very much enjoy it. It's a big part of what I do and who I am in this life. I've had many lives, though that's a whole nother story. We also will be getting into esoteric knowledge and spiritual ideas and beliefs and magic, things like that, as well on this channel. It's much more rare, though sometimes I get into that as well, since I do some of that myself. All good stuff, especially these days. And in a moment, I'll be talking about some recent news. We've had major developments. This is also a bit of an emergency alert. Few things have happened that I really did not expect, especially when it comes to Russia and the Baltic states, which are Finland, Lithuania, Estonia, and I believe there was one more. It's hard to remember those ones off the top of my head. There's a few countries out there. Finland mainly is going to be, we'll get into that in a moment. It's really concerning, the news I've heard earlier about that. We also have the nuclear forces on high alert. The nuclear command and control forces of NATO, especially the United States, have been very busy, very active for months now, months on months. These are not normal times. Not very much happens here on these borders, these domestic borders, as much as it does all around the world. And yes, many things happen in different parts of this country, but nothing yet on the scale that it is in, say, Ukraine, Iran, Lebanon, and the whole Middle East over there, as well as Taiwan, which Taiwan is being surrounded and may be invaded soon by the Chinese, because the Chinese think that's part of their country and they want to take the resources that Taiwan has. So we have that going on, and we have the Ukraine war, of course. We have the Middle East flaring up when it comes to Saudi Arabia, Israel, and Iran, and the whole Palestinian thing going over there in the Gaza Strip. And just the whole Middle East is quite chaotic these days. There's lots of war, lots of chaos in the Middle East. Again, this is all from off the top of my head. This is initially a live stream recording. Let's see. So the major thing as well that's going around, we have the bird flu. We have the bird flu going around. California has declared a state of emergency due to the bird flu. So that's major. That's absolutely an emergency situation. I believe the bird flu is in California and Louisiana. I heard there was someone very sick in Louisiana from the bird flu. I think they call it the H1, It's the H5N1 bird flu. I believe it's called the H5N1 bird flu. Yes. There was the first confirmed severe case of the H5N1 bird flu in the United States about almost 10 days ago now. So that was a real serious situation. I'll share the screen now to the X page. Something more to look at here. So we do have that going around. We also have, there's an unknown virus not too long ago that was going around somewhere in Africa. That was also quite serious. They're even bringing back the CV19. As many know it, came around in 2019, that pandemic that was going around. So the thing is, with all that, we have a next pandemic that is about to be starting all throughout this world, it seems. The bird flu didn't originate here. It was going around somewhere far away from here. It started developing. Then it spread to animals. And then it continued to mutate and change. And now it's spreading to humans. Now I believe it's human to human contact. That's the most recent development of it. And the bird flu is far more severe by far than the CV19. The bird flu usually has over a 60% mortality rate, from what I remember. And that's far more serious than, say, a 1% or a 10% that supposedly was from the CV19. I try to be quite careful with certain words I say, especially when it comes to the CV19. And you got to watch, especially on YouTube. They're very strict when it comes to a lot of things, especially showing certain footage. You can't really show war footage. I try to follow their guidelines. Though I do mainly show things from X, which is all uncensored. There's no censorship that goes around on X. So that's fantastic. So let's see the other news here. We'll start with this. This not long ago, again, within the last 2 weeks, Russia ordered its citizens to leave the U.S. immediately. That's another massive sign that war is on the horizon. I was pretty mind blown by that when I saw that as well. About 2 weeks ago, looks like, says December 12th. So right around December 12th, that's what Russia told citizens in the U.S. to leave immediately. It's from the leading report. Love to see this. Trump tells Canada if they were to become the 51st state, their taxes would be cut by more than 60%. Their businesses would immediately double in size, and they would be militarily protected like no other country in the world, anywhere in the world. So I highly agree with that. This should have happened many, many years ago. Don't quite know why they didn't try to do this years ago. They should have been trying to do this for years. Canada, I personally believe, should be annexed for sure and become the 51st state, or split it up. I mean, maybe it shouldn't be one state. I would not say it should be one state. It should be different states. Each province should be different states. I don't think it should be one big state. That doesn't make much sense. Split it up and make everything balanced. So when it comes to voting and things like that, it's all the way it should be, especially so that they could have different laws. Each state could have their different in their own laws, like how it is here in the US. So that's great. Now, I don't have it reposted here, though I remember from earlier. Russia is going to, they're preparing to invade Finland and the Baltic states, as I was saying earlier. This is confirmed, and Finland knows this. Russia has cut some undersea cables off the coast near Finland and those Baltic states. They're cutting the cables, the undersea cables, which are related and connect. That's how they get their electric. A lot of their electric comes from these undersea cables and these connections that are deep underwater near the Baltic states. There's many undersea cables all throughout the world. And Russia has been preparing for these invasions that they're going to do on the Baltic states by cutting these undersea cables, which will cut the power grid, and that's going to make things a whole lot easier for the Russians when they invade the Baltic states, especially Finland. I think they're going to take Finland first and then try to go for the others, or maybe they might do it all at once because they have that large of a military. They'll also be trying to do something with the Suwalki Gap. It's a strategic point, and it's quite a strategy. It really is, cutting these cables that puts all these countries without power there, the Baltic states, and they didn't even do that with Ukraine. I suppose that's because they couldn't do it. They only recently just bombed Ukraine to the point where it really affected their power grid. Um, though throughout this whole war, they haven't really been targeting Ukraine's power grid. It makes it a whole lot easier and cuts communication a lot more. Things related to that, all electric devices that require a power grid will not last long after cutting the cables. It's a tremendous strategy, taking out a country's power grid and then invading. So Russia will still have a lot of electric and power while these other countries will not. That's a very serious advantage over the other countries. The thing about all that is it's going to drag in the entirety of NATO. That will trigger Article 4 or Article 5 of NATO. Because Finland, and I'm quite sure some of the other Baltic states, I believe Finland is a NATO country. Let's find out right now. We got to know this. Let's get that confirmed. Yes, it's confirmed. I remember this. Finland is a NATO country. Finland officially joined NATO on April 4th, 2023. This marked a significant shift in Finland's foreign policy, especially in response to the changing security landscape in Europe. So, Finland, as of less than a year ago, became a NATO country. So, when Finland is under attack, the rest of NATO is obligated, they have to, required through the NATO treaties and the alliance to assist Finland. So when Russia invades Finland, it will be World War III, as most people think about it. It will be East versus West. It will be American troops, Finland, I believe they're Finnish troops against Russians and more. Like it would be Finnish, Danish, US troops, Italians, all that. World War III, as most people know it, which it is going on now. It just hasn't gotten to that point yet. Though when Finland is invaded by Russia, NATO forces will go right into Finland to assist them and stop it from being taken over if they do it on time. If Russia strikes very fast and NATO takes too long to react, that's how they would just take Finland. If NATO is slow to react, Russia will have Finland before most of NATO could even get there. And that's one thing I personally worry about because of how NATO is so hesitant with Ukraine when it comes to all that, when it comes to assisting and getting directly involved in the war. NATO, as a matter of fact, is sending forces to Ukraine now. That's also recent news that I heard not long ago, that some NATO troops will be heading to Ukraine to support in that war. So the direct conflict of East versus West, the troops themselves, that will be very much a thing coming up in 2025, especially later on this winter. Most of these things will be occurring in the winter, and that's just historically and strategically, especially what the Russians do. Historically, that's when many wars are fought, and the Russians themselves are they're winter warriors of sorts. They're very used to fighting battles and wars in the winter. So this winter could get very chaotic very quickly. So that's another thing. Keep on prepping, keep on preparing for all that is about to happen. A great change is occurring. Many of these things will take some time. This war is going to continue, and it's definitely continuing to escalate, especially that I just explained. Russia is about to invade the Baltic states, and that is 100% confirmed. So keep preparing. If you haven't, definitely start preparing. Learn a lot of things about preparedness and survival and even bushcrafting. I recommend getting an off-grid site, an off-grid location, set up a bug-out bag, get all things now before it really intensifies and you can't just go to stores or online websites and buy things. I do believe shortly after it gets more kinetic in the war, more of the kinetic phase that's coming up with Russia and NATO, that it's going to get very much closer to the nuclear phase, which any day now, it could go, I believe, to the tactical nuclear level, where Russia will use nuclear weapons on NATO bases. I don't believe they'll hit cities right away, U.S. cities, things like that. They'll go for all the military sites first. Cities are usually counter-value targets. They're like massive hostage locations too. So definitely prepare for what's coming. Prepare for this winter in general. You could also can't forget to prepare for winter itself. That's lesser known, though you always want to be prepared for winter, especially if you get stuck out somewhere, like in the middle of a blizzard on a highway in more of a rural area. That's very dangerous. Definitely prepare for this winter. It's looking very dark, very chaotic. Lots of war is coming, it seems, this winter or shortly after. I mean, the war part could happen after this winter, could happen in the spring, it could happen in the summer. It will most likely happen this winter when it comes to the war, World War III. So once again, as you see there, I'm usually called Phil, and I go by the username or the channel name Phil_Prepper. I am, yes, 25. I am a shadow healer. I consider myself a lore master too, as it says there. That's a more complex term. I know the lore of many things, especially when it comes to this reality and others. And yes, I'm a doomsday prepper of about 4 years now. So, love, light, and blessings to you all. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I will be back soon with another video, another stream like this. This is a live stream recording initially, and it will be posted to my YouTube channel. You may share it out with others as well. Once again, thanks for watching. I hope to see you all on the next one.